Thank you everyone for joining us today. I was walking and I was like, oh, thank goodness it's not raining today. So let us begin. So a little bit about myself. I have an environmental policy background. I came from the sustainable agriculture sector. So I was working and studying in Costa Rica, Indonesia, Malaysia, trying to figure out what was happening on the ground with farmers and governments, but especially businesses. Because I realized quite quickly that businesses were not only the ones financing a lot of the work that was being done on the ground, a lot of the time they were culpable. And governments and communities were being impacted and trying to figure out how to work together. So I came to Stewardship Asia Centre because essentially what we do is we help government, we help business leaders, investors, and individuals try to figure out how we can solve the environmental and societal challenges of today. Because we're on this speed track, it needs to happen now. I mean, we heard about some of the updates happening at COP, that COP is essentially not fit for purpose. At SAC, we kind of already knew this. So we were trying to figure out what model do businesses and leaders really need to ensure that we become successful in our endeavors. So we champion that individuals and organizations need to drive growth strategies with steward leadership. And I'll get into that a bit later. So essentially our world today, we know we're super hyper connected. Everybody here has a phone, maybe 2 phones, has access to information at their fingertips. It's provided us with a world of information. And then we have overpopulation. We have so many people right now. I mean, like we said, Singapore and beyond. We're able to connect with people, to try to address challenges with so many different communities. However, with the pros, it's created kind of a double-edged sword. With hyperconnectivity, you have issues around the world, AI, tech breaches, data stewardship has become kind of the new phrase. But overpopulation has caused overconsumption, water pollution, air pollution, so many different things. So even with all of the pros of the world, it's become a double-edged sword. So,
Greenhouse gases are at an all-time high. The rate of species extinction is 10,000 times the normal rate. The richest 1% in the world have more than double the wealth of 6.9 billion people. And a cyber attack is recorded every 39 seconds.
More regulation, more measurement, more incentives, more punishment. And yet, we don't see enough progress on resolving either environmental or social concerns. The ESG framework has been one of the corporate world's main responses to our existential threats. While ESG minimizes harm to the environment and society, these frameworks are not enough to drive the innovation needed to address today's challenges. The missing link is the genuine desire and persistence to do well by doing good. So rather than just rules, regulations, and incentives, we need a values-based revolution. ESG must be upgraded to ESL, where L stands for leadership, specifically steward leadership.
Steward leaders see themselves as stewards of planet Earth and humanity. Driven by their values, they marry profit and purpose and actively innovate to create superior economic returns by creating positive impact.
okay, so sorry. Before getting to here, I showed that video, also sorry, quick click on my part. But essentially to show that what we have today isn't fit for purpose. Exactly what COP is saying. We need something more. We need something intrinsic. This is why there's a whole day actually devoted to human capital and youth, because we see value in these skills that are needed. So I just wanted to share a statistic. How many % of people are more aware than before that before COVID-19 that human activity now threatens the climate and that environmental degradation can threaten humans? Anybody have an idea what percentage? The statistic was done just around the COVID period. So people were becoming more aware of the interconnectedness of systems. There was a lot of news being put out that COVID was being spread because of interactions with mammals in an area in China, in Wuhan. Anyone have an idea how much the percentage? 70%. So 70% of people had become more aware than before COVID, which obviously is kind of a huge push towards looking at what it means to be an interconnected and globalized society. So we were looking at, so people were becoming more aware. They were realizing we needed to do something different, but they were trying to figure out the solution and didn't know what. So the idea was, how do we then navigate this dynamic environment? We have socioeconomic inequality in so many countries, so many First Nations, island nations, especially that are being represented at COP, are the ones that are the most vulnerable, being impacted. We have climate change, and then you have cyber vulnerability. Our overpopulated and our overconnected world has created so many of these challenges. And then I don't know if anyone's seen this time of the death of privacy. We have this current system where everything is online and accessible. But again, all of your information is online and we have no privacy. I mean, for example, something I love to ask is, how many of people actually read the terms and conditions when they click accept? Because you have to click accept. Anyone actually go through and read that? All the information you're giving away? Nobody reads it. I mean, there's so much information we're giving away, but also taking. So the idea and the question is, what does the next generation need? Because the next generation are the people that are going to be the most impacted, and they're the ones that we need to uplift so that they have the skills. One of the things that just I experienced this morning, I was speaking to a group of 116 to 18-year-olds, and I don't know what happened previous to my session, but man, they seemed depressed about the state of the world. So we were speaking and they were like, what can I do? I'm so little, there's so many big problems that we have, where do I start? So we had this conversation and we talked to them and I said, actually the best thing that you can do for yourself is start with yourself. Start to figure out what are the things that are most important to you? What is your purpose in life? And so we talked a little bit about leadership, because that's what we need. And we talked about the different regulation mechanisms, carbon credits, tax incentives, and a lot of them were like, if governments and countries are not interested, then how is it ever going to happen? So we talked about it. And SAC, we view leadership as the genuine desire and persistence, it requires that persistence to create a better future. So with that, I'm sure a lot of people have different definitions of what stewardship is. But what we view as stewardship is the mindset of creating value by integrating the needs of society, the future generations, and the environment. But when we looked at both of these definitions at SAC, we realized we actually need something more, something that incorporates both. So then we came up with steward leadership. And this is bringing piece of the leadership. It's the genuine desire and persistence to create a collective better future. Because that's what's needed. We need this collective effort to come together. Even though it starts with oneself, you yourself have to have this persistence to think about others. Because we are so overpopulated, overconnected. We have the people, we have the information, meaning we have the ability to find these solutions and create change. So we need not just leadership within all of the ranks, within government leaders, within the companies, we need steward leadership. So with that, I kind of want to provide an example of what that looks like, because a lot of people can think, okay, this is beautiful, steward leadership, we need that, but what does this actually look like in practice? So we went searching far and wide, SAC did, to try to figure out who are the people, who are the companies that are actually making this work. And in essence, we were exploring the phrases, who is doing well by doing good, bridging profit and purpose and making it an actuality. So we found Frank Mars. Everyone's had Mars chocolate, maybe? Yes, delicious. So actually, Frank Mars is about the 4th generation family business. He's part of the family business for the Mars Incorporated. And he believed that accountability is given to you. You're essentially accountable as a leader. You are given that position. You are going to be held accountable. However, responsibility is what you feel. And in order to actually make real change, you need to feel that responsibility as your purpose, or else whatever you're accountable for actually won't happen. So I just wanted to share a little case study of Mars. Essentially, many people may or may not know that we may not have our beautiful chocolate supply in the next 10 years because of climate change. Same for coffee, actually. And Mars knows this. So they wanted to invest in their people because they knew not only do I need chocolate, I need people who actually work on these cocoa farms, which means I need to get the next generation interested in farming. Is anyone here part of a farming family? Maybe has a family of farmers? I come from a family of farmers on both sides. My family would never want me to be a farmer. And actually in my previous work, when I was working with a lot of youth in Sarawak or North Sumatra, the question that I asked them was, okay, how are you going to, or their parents was, how are you going to get your kids interested in farming? And they said, why would I ever want my child to be a farmer? Working 10 to 12 hours a day in the sun. But the thing is, if we don't incorporate and try to get our next generation into this field, or whatever field it is, to help find the solutions, then we won't ever have chocolate for the next 10 years. So Mars did something quite interesting.
Nama saya adalah Alexander, usia saya saat ini 36 tahun. Iya, memang dulunya bapak saya ingin saya jadi petani kakao. Tapi pada waktu itu karena kakaonya jadi rusak, saya memutuskan untuk pergi merantau waktu itu. Tentu saja orang tua saya sedih. Dia bilang, siapa lagi yang mau teruskan kita punya kebun kalau kamu merantau. Yang membuat saya dulu itu berhenti kerja di sana itu gaji yang saya dapatkan itu tidak bisa mencukupi keluarga. Saya dikasih tanah sama bapak. Waktu itu keadaan tanah itu memang hancur, Pak. Dia punya kakao itu sudah hancur. Penghasilan saya sebelum kelola kakao itu penghasilannya paling tinggi itu 1 juta sebulan. Waktu itu yang bikin sulit itu karena dia punya buah rusak semua. Dan pada waktu itu butuh biaya juga karena pas waktu itu orang tua juga meninggal. Boleh dibilang ini adalah masa paling berat dalam hidup saya. Dari seorang paman, saya tahu tentang program Koko Doktor. Saya memutuskan untuk mendaftar. Syukur akhirnya saya terpilih. 4 minggu pertama, saya belajar tentang seluk-beluk bertani kakao. Mulai dari pentingnya mengganti pohon-pohon yang sudah tua sampai grafting dan pemilihan bibit. 3 minggu berikutnya saya belajar tentang cara mengelola usaha saya. Setelah menjadi Koko Doktor, kebun saya menjadi produktif kembali. Panen bisa meningkat 3 kali lipat dari sebelumnya. Sekarang saya membantu petani kakao lain supaya bisa sama produktifnya dengan saya.
Saya ingat waktu masa-masa sulit itu, saya bertanya ke suami, kapan ya kita bisa seperti orang lain ya, bisa membeli susu, membayar uang sekolah tanpa harus khawatir. Puji Tuhan, hari-hari itu sudah berlalu.
Sekarang penghasilan saya mencapai 120 juta per tahun. Itu baru kebun, belum dari penjualan pupuk dan alat-alat pertanian lainnya.
Saya sangat terinspirasi dari Koko Dokter seperti Pak Alex karena orang-orang seperti dialah yang sangat membantu pemuda-pemuda desa ini untuk bertanam kakao karena kakao ini sangat menjanjikan prospek ke depannya.
Saya ingin anak-anak saya ke depannya bisa membantu saya melanjutkan usaha ini. Ya kalau Bapak sih masih ada, paling saya ngomong, Pak lihat ini anaknya Bapak dulu yang tidak mendengar. Sudah bisa ganti Bapak sekarang.
So Mars is one example, and it's an inspirational one at that, because it showcases that, they know that it's part of their business model. Essentially, any good company is going to look at who are their stakeholders, how do they invest in them, but Mars is going a step further. This video was actually taken about 7 years ago. Now, today, what they're doing in Sulawesi and across Indonesia is that they're working with youth, actually 18, 19, 20-year-olds, around that range. Obviously, Alex is 36, so you could still consider quite young. But now they're working with even younger generations to train them, because they asked the questions. They went and they asked youth, do you actually care about sustainability? And actually the question was not really. But then if you ask them, do you want to contribute to your community? The question was yes. So this is the way that we can try to get youth to rethink the mindset of, okay, maybe being a farmer isn't my life, but actually it contributes to my neighbor. It contributes to the livelihood of the community. And this is how I can do it, and give the skills that they need to do so. So actually this morning when I was speaking to some of the students about Mars as an example as well, I talked to them about the fact that, let's say if you were Mars, right? You're trying to get youth interested. Maybe you don't want to be outside, but what if we had AI, technology? What if we had different aspects that you could integrate into this field? Would you be interested? And they said yes, because they see the value in different skills and what we need for the future, regardless of what that career path can look like. So Mars is just an example of what it means to be a steward leader. So we have this environmental and social spectrum that we've created about what different leaders look like across the spectrum. So the first is you have your green and your purpose washers, our favorite people. They proactively disinform to show positive E and S impact when there actually is none. Then you have your window dressers. They take a few steps to show E or S, and that is more form than substance, actually. So past that, you have blissfully ignorant and totally in denial. So they don't know, they don't believe, they essentially don't really care, and they take no action whatsoever. So further down, you have the box checkers. Most companies and actually most individuals lie in this box checker area. So they choose to do the minimum to satisfy your regulatory compliance requirements. So whatever's happening at COP, right? Any regulation, any kind of policy, they will come on board to do the minimum standard, but to do more to create change, they're not going to do that. Then you have the real true E&S champions, like Mars themselves. So they strongly believe it's their responsibility. They're accountable. It's not only part of their business model, they're accountable and responsible for the people that they work with, and to address the environmental and social issues through their business itself. They're making profit by taking care of the very people that are impacted the most. And then they proactively fully embed sustainability into business strategy, execution, and culture. It's not a tick box exercise. They do it wholeheartedly and can do it. And the thing that we found with this is that a lot of companies like Mars, they actually intrinsically have done it themselves as steward leaders. So 20 years ago, they finally asked the question, well, not finally, but they thought to ask the question, how much money is too much money? They're a $1 billion company, billions of dollars actually, so that they finally asked themselves, how much is too much? I mean, we already will have money for our family for generations. Where do we stop from here? And so they realized that I can actually still continue to make billions of dollars and invest in their future and the future generations. So I guess the question is, and why we're here today is, how can youth encourage more organizations to move through this spectrum? How do we get leaders, communities, governments, and businesses to become actually true E&S champions? And so I also pose this question to the youth to bring it home and try to for them to figure out by themselves and when they're reflecting how to get there. And then we talk about steward leadership. So our steward leadership compass, this is kind of our bread and butter. Steward leadership, like I said, is the genuine desire and persistence to create a collective better future. The first step in order to solve any challenge, any of the E&S challenges that we have, and to find these solutions, you need to first integrate your 4 stewardship values with your personal values. Because like I said, it's an internal step first. Mars was ahead of the curve. They actually have their own Mars compass that they go to anytime they need to make a policy decision within their company. And what they do is they ask themselves, okay, am I really integrating the values that I have in my compass and the personal values that I show? So when we talk to youth, we need to ask them to think about these values alongside their other personal values before making a decision, and to really think about what it means to have these values. So what are these values? Interdependence, long-term view, ownership mentality, creative resilience. They're not words that you haven't seen before, especially in sustainability discussions. But in this context, we're asking you to think about it at a more personal level. How are you acting with interdependence? You're viewing the world as an interconnected system in which your success depends on the success of others. So you as a youth in your community understand that whatever you're practicing, also whether you're contributing to recycling or contributing to any campaigns around your neighborhood or larger community, how is your success in this depending also on the success of others and affecting others? Again, long-term view, we're always looking with sustainability, it's always looking at the long term. So creating a sustained value for both current and future generations. Then ownership mentality. It's taking that proactive responsibility to create positive environmental and social impact. You're taking ownership, you have the will, you're realizing that I can take action to make this change. And then creative resilience is when you're hit with a stumbling block, you're not just stopping, you're finding innovative solutions, you're working with other people, being interdependent to try to go against these disruptive challenges. Having these values into working towards your greater purpose is what's going to help youth towards tackling the environmental challenges today. So then, what is your stewardship purpose? This is a collective better future you aspire to create. So the youth today, when I asked them this question, if they'd ever thought about their purpose, I mean, they're 16 to 18 years old. When I had asked them this question, they had said, no, it's just to kind of get an A, which you would expect a student to say that. But it's because they haven't put into perspective the impacts that are within their community or what they can do. So allowing students and youth to figure out what their purpose is actually one of the most crucial steps once they've figured out their main values. Because once they have this purpose, whether it's environmental, social, they're able to push towards all of these challenges to create that collective better future, whatever it may be. So with this compass, you're trying to figure out what kind of collective better future do I want to create? What does that look like? And how can I achieve my personal ambition by pursuing this greater good? Because honestly, we always think about giving as something selfless. It has to be given and very altruistic, which is true. But it also has to achieve your own personal ambition and your personal purpose. Because in order for everyone to succeed, you must succeed as well. So this is something that we also talk about when you have your stewardship purpose. So alongside this, you have to ensure everything you do is aligned to and governed by your steward leadership compass. So these are essentially the values and this purpose that you have. And a lot of people might question, is this a bit airy-fairy? But then you see people like Mars. You see the community that they've built. You see the youth advocates that we see today, whether it's the Greta Thunbergs or the people in your communities, they have a purpose to create this collective better future. And the skills they have is because of these values. So these values are actually practical. You need to be interdependent. You need to work in partnerships. You need to have this long-term view and this ownership mentality in order for sustainability to succeed. Because right now, everybody essentially knows COP and a lot of these regulatory bodies and multilateral events that we have aren't as fit for purpose and may not be fit for purpose for the next generation who really want to act now. And a lot of them have a purpose and just need to figure out how to get on this journey together. So, alongside this, just to close up, once you have your steward leadership compass and it's strong, you're able to go towards and challenge or create solutions to the challenges that we have today. So one of the ways that we showcase this as well at SAC is through our platform at stewardshipcommons.com. For anyone that doesn't know, actually, Stewardship Commons is an open source platform that we created. It's free for everyone. We have videos, podcasts of youth as well that are acting, and we've created a podcast series with some youth, or a video series with asking some youth what they're interested in and what challenges they'll face. But essentially, it's for people and planet, and it's a site where you can see real stories of people doing well by doing good. Because, I mean, we hear a lot about the Mars, the Starbucks. You hear the stories of the fallen, like Boeing, literally fallen. So some of these stories, they're big names. And we forget that there are actually many communities, many people, SMEs and stories doing amazing work. One of the things that SAC does is we have a Steward Leadership 25 list. It's an award that we give to SMEs, social enterprises, and large companies as well, that are showcasing how they are making profit by taking care of the environment and society. So their stories are here. One of the things that we want to showcase as well in the work that we do is for steward leadership to have an impact on others, and especially our youth, the stories need to be shared. They need to be heard. Especially in Asia, we don't have that privilege where a lot of stories are heard. So this is one of the platforms that we have to do so.